What's up, folks? It's Dr. Remy LeBeau, and I'm coming at you once again from the X Lair to provide you my thoughts on the final episode of season 3 of Twin Peaks. Man. Yeah, you just can't expect David Lynch to just tie everything up in a lovely bow and just that's it. Here's the end of my story, like here's all these threads that have been lingering for 20 years. 25 years, let me put them all together and just like kind of put my stamp of completion on this work and just kind of move on. Like that would not have done his work justice. That would not have been David Lynch work. This episode is David fucking Lynch. It is everything David fucking Lynch. This whole season has been David Lynch personified. It is a wonderful piece of art. This entire season is a wonderful piece of art, and it's wonderful icing to like this beautiful confection that he has made throughout his life. This sort of sweet representation of like a mad world, underpinned by some interesting plot lines that ultimately I think are meant to. I think the purpose of like the intricate plot lines are just for him to kind of dangle them in front of the audience and just kind of be like, this is what you guys like, right? This is what you like, and like always kind of have it dangling there and just and never quite kind of letting us have it, because like you can get that anywhere else. But like David Lynch is not about that. He's not about like, let me tell a neat story that's going to perfectly resolve itself and then just be like everything else. No, it's like, let me tell a good story, very intricate with a lot of plot lines, and have you have expectations about what it should be, and sort of take you on a ride of what those expectations may lead to, and then ultimately have them lead to what you think they're going to lead to, and then completely fucking blow your mind with what actually winds up happening after that, which is exactly what happened here. Like I said at the end of the video, the last video, episode 17, like that could have been the final episode of the series, and now we see this final episode, and it's like, it's sort of this like poetic journey into nonsense. Like basically David Lynch saying, like, you can't make sense of what goes on around us. Like, you can't make perfect sense of it. Like, as much as you may understand a lot of it and can put pieces together in a way that seems to make sense, ultimately there's going to be a lot in his world, but really a comment on our actual world that you just can't explain. Like, so much is random, so much is not neatly sort of tied up with a beautiful bow and just kind of fed to us as experiences that like takes us in a linear fashion from A to B. It's just, no, it's like the nature of our lives and reality, and like in this world that we exist in, like it's a lot more complex than that, and you just kind of have to be at peace with it, I think, is ultimately the commentary that he's always trying to make with his works, and this is no different. I mean, I can only imagine Twin Peaks fans definitely will be satisfied by this. Film fans like myself will be very satisfied. I'm very satisfied with this entire thing. The conventional television viewer will think that this was a piece of shit. Okay, so those are my overall kind of thoughts about the whole series right now. Now, let's talk about the very end. The very end implies this is not over, but then that may be the end that he intended, right? Even though like there have been rumors that like this may continue on, like, and maybe he does have plans to tell a grander story, even bigger than what we already think we're being told. That may not be the case. Like it may always have been his plan to just kind of leave it open-ended, even though we get resolution for the loose plot lines that were never resolved in the original series. Like, it took us to a place that just is, again, very open-ended in a very different way. Okay, so let's kind of try to unpack this. Like, what happened here? I mean, obviously we had the that reunion with Cooper. So Cooper loses Laura. Okay, before any of that, we saw that like that hair that he pulled out and then gave to the one-armed man, and told him, you know what to do with this, like using one of those golden seeds, as it were. It did make another doppelganger of him, which is the one that went back to Dougie's family, right? So Dougie's family gets to have a version of him. So that ties that up. And then we see him like exit the Black Lodge with Diane. Leland tells him to go find his daughter. We presumably at this point, like, he's changed the past. So Laura Palmer is not dead in the present, is what is assumed, right? And then him and Diane are like, it seems like there's a purpose to what they're doing. They cross some weird sort of geographical threshold where things are apparently going to be different. And they were different in a way. I don't know. Did it change Diane? This different... I don't know. Did they go into an alternate dimension? I don't fucking know. I mean, we may never know. But anyway, like him and Diane had that great sort of love scene, but in that setting, she also saw a double of herself for a second. It was really weird. And then after they had their sex, when he woke up the next morning, she was gone, and she left a note basically saying that she was someone different, and she was leaving him, who she named as somebody different as well. So like shit just got totally fucking weird again. Just layer upon layer of weird was just kind of being added, and he started acting kind of like a mix between Dougie and Doppel Cooper. Like it wasn't the Cooper that we know from the original series that we saw reemerge at the end of episode 16. This was like, there were Dougie like mechanical components, and there was like kind of a sober, monotone demeanor to him that was kind of signature to Doppel Cooper, but not dark, not in that dark, creepy way that Doppel Cooper kind of exuded. That sort of essence. That wasn't there. But it wasn't like just your classic Cooper. It was something else. He was something else. So he goes to that diner, Judy's diner, right? Judy, not a mistake there. We never actually find out who Judy is. But anyway, Judy's diner is where he knows that this person carries something who he believes is Laura Palmer, which may actually be Laura Palmer. So he changed the past, but then she disappeared. Maybe she was put into a different role. I can't even explain it. Like, the only thing I could try to explain it, and maybe the dark forces that wanted her dead or whatever, like, the best they could do at that moment is to kind of put her in an alternate space where she became somebody else. Anyway, he finds her. This weird life that she has just killed a man in her home. Probably an abusive husband or boyfriend or something. I have no idea. We don't get any information on that. And then they go on this road trip back to Twin Peaks. a lot of the episode is just kind of them sitting in the car, and it's like, it's a very sort of non-eventful ride, and it was really prolonged. He really stretched it out a lot, David Lynch, because I think again a lot of this has been like, a lot of this series has been him playing with expectations, playing with what we as an audience would expect of things to go. And this final episode, we would expect, just like the biggest fucking sequences, like explosive, like just everything, like mind fucking blowing plot resolutions, right? Like we got in the series, in the season finale of Game of Thrones, right? We didn't get that here, because he's all about like fucking with our expectations. Like he brings us to a point of like expecting something, and then he kind of flips it on his head. That's what the last, fucking 20 minutes of this episode were. They were basically nothing. When they finally get to Twin Peaks and they go to the house, like it's not her house. Like somebody else has been living there, and he doesn't know what year it is. And then she realizes it, and we get that scream, and then it goes dark, and then I start fucking laughing. I started cracking up, because I was like, motherfucker, he did it to us again. And I loved it. I love that that's what happened. Like, that it wasn't like, oh, because in my mind it was like, okay, well, I guess they're going to go to the house, and then we're going to discover that Judy is inside of maybe Laura Palmer's mom's body, and then they're going to fight. And somehow Laura Palmer is going to destroy Judy, and then like everything's going to be good. Like Laura Palmer is going to be alive, and it's going to be as though she never died. And then like whatever this entity was that was released when that nuclear bomb went off, whenever that was, is now gone. It's like even up till those last moments, like I expected this like grand resolution. And what we got is nowhere fucking near it. But again, like it's David fucking Lynch, and like this is what David Lynch does. And if you expect anything different, if you expect like conventional storytelling and filmmaking, then this is not the show for you. And this is not he's not the filmmaker for you. And you should just acknowledge like, this is not my cup of tea in terms of like, what is being produced, and like, and again, sort of how it in its very nature is not intended to be what you would expect it to be. Like if you can't handle that, then this was never for you. But again, if you are like, if you can appreciate, what was done here as an artistic product, right? Like David Lynch, not only just playing with like the filmic form, like what can I do with the visual image, and like, and how can I use that to tell weird stories, but like also like, taking this sort of vehicle for storytelling and kind of flipping it on its head, right? This new sort of medium of telling great cinematic stories on television that now we can do, because that's become the trend. So he took that and he made it his, and he made it something different than anybody else has made it. And if you can appreciate it for that, then you can appreciate this, as I do. I love it. I fucking love it. I think it's fantastic. This last episode definitely is very sobering. But it's like, I'm glad that it wasn't exactly what I would expect it to be. And it was something completely different. I should have known it. And I'm glad they did it in one night too, because if not, I think people would have been upset to have to wait a week for this last episode, which again didn't really take us to where we think it would take us. Maybe left it open, but intentionally, because they intend to tell more story, but maybe just left it open intentionally because David Lynch just wants it to be left open intentionally. He wants it to be left open to interpretation, because ultimately that is where the fun lies in this kind of content. Anyway, so those are my thoughts of this like kind of mind-blowing experience that has been this third season of Twin Peaks. I mean, we can only hope that we will get more. If we do get more, I'm sure it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to have it. But if we don't get more, I know a lot of you are really happy that we at least got this, and it's been such a treat. And thank you guys for coming along on this ride with me. I didn't expect to start making these videos for the show, but I mean, like the cineast in me, the film lover in me, like I couldn't help but express my feelings about it as soon as I started like experiencing the just the mind blowing mind fuckery that was the show. Anyway, I'll be posting other stuff in the future. I'll be probably talking about the Gifted show, the X-Men show. Obviously, you can see I'm a big X-Men fan coming up, and I don't know. We'll see if this comes back at some point. I'll definitely be talking about this again. Anyway, thank you for checking out my videos. Thanks for checking out my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, you can do so down there. And as always, I'd like to remind you, if you haven't already, you should put an X in the box, folks, because ain't nobody checking me. Take care. Bye-bye.